Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's another C-List Saturdays with me, Big Bad Evil Fett, and to my right, Villainous Red. It's a so villainous and evil production.
Welcome,
hey, Red,
live.
how are you, bud?
Welcome live to my former office, which is now my sister's closet. So, yes, I am in the closet. Yes.
I like to be in the closet every once in a while myself, but
Yeah.
not tonight. Tonight we have a special show. It's a special guest. It's DJ. He's the creator and the author and the graphic designer of the comic book Glitch. Welcome, my friend.
Hey, glad to be here. Glad we can finally work out the time. I know it's been difficult getting me on the show the past couple of weeks.
No problem. We understand. Life goes on.
Oh, yeah. And with traveling and just all that good stuff. But I'm very glad to be here talking to you guys.
Oh, no, welcome on. Just wondering, were you slated for a convention appearance this week or last week?
Me?
Yeah, you. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a couple conventions that I have done in the past, but like I really want to do MegaCon someday, but I've never made it down to that one. I really
MegaCon just got over. We had several friends that were at MegaCon this year.
Yeah, it always looks like such a blast. But I do have a couple big shows that I usually do, like Heroes Con. This will be my second time doing it this year.
Heroes Con.
And then I've done Baltimore Comic Con a couple times, and a lot of like Virginia shows. There's a show called Big Lick Comic Con that I do multiple times a year, and then some in like the Kansas Midwest area, which obviously aren't as big as the ones on the East Coast because it's the Midwest. Let's be honest.
Right.
But yeah, so not recently, but soon. Hopefully we'll get back onto the convention circuit.
Have you ever thought about going to the Big Daddy of them all, San Diego Comic-Con?
Oh, I've obviously thought about it, but my wallet doesn't want to think about it yet.
Me and Red's waiting for the hotels to come online so we can buy a hotel. Me and Red's been going to San Diego for quite some time. I've been going for 22 years straight.
Dang. Well, that's awesome.
I think Red's gone 10 or plus years, correct?
Yeah, but you're grandpa compared to me when it comes down to convention attendee. I mean, you've been there since since God created San Diego. All it was like pictographs on fucking stone, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was. I was sacrificing lambs on a stone.
You were cosplaying Jesus again, weren't you?
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Well, it takes a Jew to do Jesus, right? So
exactly.
The right one.
Yeah, the sandals down and everything. It's got the Jew fro and the Jew curls.
There you go.
Yep.
That's perfect.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
No. Hey, side tangents are the best part of podcasts. So
absolutely. When me and Red can cut it up, we get kind of raunchy at times, but we'll stay cool today. So, DJ,
I can't promise that.
Tell us about Glitch.
Let me show the thing, okay?
Well, I thought he was going to tell him, then you're going to show the thing. Or you want to do it the reverse?
Let me show the video at least.
Oh, show the video. Okay, come on.
Yeah, give me a second here, man. I'm trying to produce on air and talk at the same time. Okay?
That's why you're the Villainous Red. You can do
that. Now DJ can talk, and then I'll play the video afterwards. Okay.
Okay.
I'm giving permission now.
Yes.
Yes. So Glitch is my creator-owned comic. Like you said, I wrote and did the pencil and ink work for it. This is the first issue that's going to be a 3-issue miniseries. And I'm actually working on it in collaboration with Dan Kemp, who has done a lot of color work over the years, especially with Spawn, other Spawn universe-related titles, Spider-Man, Daredevil. And in fact, if you talk to him, he'll pretty much tell you he's done everything in comics at some point, which I believe. I mean, the guy's been kicking it for a while in comic coloring. And fortunately, he was, willing to team up with me on this book. And so as you can see here, we had it on Kickstarter, and it got successfully funded. My first ever solo Kickstarter, which was very, very exciting, able to get that off the ground. And I guess you do have the video right here, which I think does a little bit better job of introducing the book before diving into it too far, if you want to click on that. Hi, I'm DJ Wiedrich, writer and artist behind the new sci-fi comic miniseries Glitch, which follows the story of an android named Ty who, through his own artificial lens, is trying to understand what it means to be human. If you're into stories like Ex Machina, Bicentennial Man, Chappie, iRobot, or if you just simply need a new sci-fi comic to read, be sure to back the Kickstarter and help us make this new comic miniseries a reality by funding Glitch issue number 1.
Looks cool. Looks cool. Let me ask you, DJ, when you came up with Glitch, how did you come up with Glitch? What was going through your head to do it? Did you watch a movie, or you were reading comic books, or what was it?
So it's actually been a long time in the making, actually. The first, I guess, concept of the character came about when I was, I want to say 12, and my little brother, who I co-created it with, was 5.
Wow.
Incredible. A long time ago. And now I'm almost 30. He's a married man, so it's like it's been forever. But anyway, so we used to read the Marvel character encyclopedia books together all the time we were kids. It was just one of those things we would do in our free time. And after a while, we just always loved reading about like the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and all these classic characters. And eventually we kind of just decided to ourselves that we were going to make our own encyclopedia of characters. We're going to make our own universe, our own characters, our own heroes, villains, anti-heroes, all that stuff, everything in between. And one of the characters that was in that catalog was an android called Glitch. Now, when we first made him, he was very much more like a villain of the week type of thing, a rogue android trying to destroy humanity, robbing banks and weapons expos in order to fuel his war on humanity. Very, classic old school comic villain type of stuff. But then fast forward about a decade and 3 years, and I was working at a manufacturing plant on an assembly line, and I had, over the couple years before that, gotten more into collecting and reading comics. I'd always been interested, but actually having the money to buy my own comics and, fill up my own collection. And one day when I was on the assembly line, all of a sudden this story with this character just kind of flooded into my head. And by the time I was done with one work shift, I had a layout in my mind for a 3-issue miniseries for this character, which, like the video said, is a lot more along the lines of something like Ex Machina, iRobot, Bicentennial Man, a little bit more, I guess, philosophical in nature rather than more classic comic book superhero villain type of thing.
So it wasn't Ultron.
It wasn't. It's not Ultron. No, I mean, it kind of was a little bit at the beginning, but now it's developed something into like more, I guess, thoughtful and slower paced, more deliberate, I guess would be a good word for it. And over the past couple of years, I'd ironed out the designs of the character, sort of ironing out the script element of it, because I'm not a trained writer. I didn't go to school for writing. That's more my other brother's forte. But, I had a script concept together. I collaborated with my brothers and we were writing together, and I got other people's input as well. And, I've been doing the pencils and inks for it. And so I've gotten a lot of help with the writing side of things. But, once I finished it, I just loved what I had. And I reached out to Dan Kemp, the colorist, because I've been working with him on a couple different projects. And I was like, hey, I got my own book. I got my own scripts. I'm doing the pencils for it. I'm going to ink it myself. Would you be down to color it? And at this point, we had done like 5 or 6 different pieces together, not too extensive, but enough to kind of get familiar with each other's, style. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. I mean, keep me informed, send me pages so I can kind of get an idea in my head, and let's build this thing together. And so that's been probably the coolest thing, is working with a legend and icon like that. I mean, I'm a huge Spawn guy. And so reading all those books and seeing his signature on these amazing covers that I love, and knowing that I'm working with that guy actively on a comic, right. It's a cool, I guess, coming to fruition of a lot of comic dreams of mine.
Like you're like 2 steps closer to the man, right? To Mr. Todd McFarlane.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually met Thomas Healy, who's the he's editor-in-chief at Spawn Comics. I met him a couple years ago. There was a small little convention in Denver called SpawnCon. They were trying to make it like a yearly thing, but there was just some complications with that. But anyway, met him, talked to him, and turns out Dan Kemp was at that same convention, but we didn't get to meet there. Like, wow. I had no idea he was there. So it's kind of funny how life still kind of worked its way to where we ended up working together in spite of being in the same room, but not meeting.
Oh, it's kismet, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Me and Red have a Spawn kind of connection too, because one of our best friends and our best friends with the show, Don Negilio, is a Spawn artist.
Yeah.
He does the Western Spawn.
Oh, Gunslinger Spawn? Yeah.
Gunslinger Spawn.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good stuff. I mean,
Well,
you can't go wrong with Gunslinger Spawn.
Oh, it reminds me, we gotta get the logo that he made for us and gotta upload it into this thing and do our show. Okay?
Yeah,
Don
Don made us a logo that we haven't put on the show yet.
I'm live producing here, okay?
It's like I'm trying to do multiple things at once. Leave me alone.
Yeah, there's too many things going on. Plus, I'm half naked down here.
I'm fully naked down there.
Right. I mean, we were talking offline, right? As far as like a convention is concerned, and you meeting the editor for Spawn. I mean, do you also find yourself maybe seeing, since you came from Texas, right? That maybe you may go to a convention in Texas for just being that hometown boy and.
Oh, I'd love that. I mean, there's a couple that I've had my eye on. It's just a matter of
MatsuriCon. This is in Dallas. MatsuriCon.
Okay, yeah, I think I'd heard of that one.
Yeah,
There's also the big Texas Comic-Con I've heard about. And there's also another one a friend of mine went to, but I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But yeah, I definitely want to go down to that at some point. It's just a matter of, scheduling and, making it work. Because my thing is that when I go to conventions, I go all over the country because I have a lot of people that I can stay with all over the country. Because I try to, limit expenses as much as possible so I can actually, make some money at the end of the day. But it's just making that work. It's something I've been toying with for a while. Haven't fully committed to it yet, but I'm absolutely down to be back in Texas for a show. That'd be amazing.
And as far as like you creating this comic, I'm trying to form my question here right now. You were inspired by these shows. Were you also? How old are you?
I'm 29.
Damn, you're too young. I was thinking of
well, he started when he was 12, so
I know that. No, but seeing the description on his Kickstarter, if you're a fan of sci-fi stories about artificial intelligence androids such as Bicentennial Man, iRobot, Chappie, yada yada yada, I was wondering like if you kind of flip into the channels and catch this old show called Small Wonder, and it's about a robot.
Yes. Yes.
And somehow, she does all the stuff and, comedy ensues, but yet just seeing how, what if she glitched and started, murdering the family that she lives with.
Well, there was a movie like that, wasn't there?
Megan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Megan, yeah.
Yeah, Megan.
I don't want to see Megan. I want to see Small Wonder. I want to see that chick.
I'm familiar with Small Wonder. I am familiar with that. I mean,
yeah.
I tell people tell me more like that. I'm kind of an old soul, so I know a lot of older stuff that maybe some people my age won't know. It just kind of ends. But yeah, no, it's you absolutely hit the nail on the head. Like we were talking about before we went live here, that artificial intelligence, the concept in general, is just such a hot topic in both the comic industry as far as art is concerned, as well as like finances and media, like everything. It's all over the place. There's debates on how much should it be used at all. And so what's funny is that when I started working on the script for this book, it was back in 2021, maybe 2022. And so AI wasn't really that advanced yet. Like the most advanced AI imagery we had was Will Smith eating spaghetti, that terrible video that people were like, oh, well, AI is not a problem. But then over a couple of years, all of a sudden, we're getting things like Sora, which got recently, I believe, shut down. But the things they're able to make that just look so impressive in a way. And so, again, it's become much more prevalent as I've worked on this book, which is kind of funny because usually when you're trying to hit on I wasn't trying to hit it, but when you're working on something that's hitting on a hot topic of discussion, usually the longer you wait, the more out of the limelight it becomes by the time it finally comes out. You know what I mean? Like
correct.
The more you take your time, the more you miss that window. Whereas my window's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger since I started working on it, which is just a rare thing.
Which then gives you more ammo for your story when it comes down to like, okay, now what happens with AI now?
Yes.
Before, when 5 years ago, it was like, man, it was at its infancy.
It opens up the window for like, because I do have this as like a limited mini series, like condensed story, but it opens the window for, like you said, as it advances and improves, to explore alternative ideas or continuation of the story if something comes along.
So you're looking at sorry, Mike. You're looking at the I guess the evolution of AI maybe seeing it through, like we started out with Rosie the robot from the Jetsons, and then working our way into Megan, the killer friendly robot thing.
Yeah.
Well, I just purchased an AI camera.
I didn't know that was a thing.
It is. It's called Look Eye, and it's a AI wearable camera that does everything you want it to do. It does editing. It does cartooning. It does everything just from the camera itself. You just talk to the camera as if it was Siri or anything like that. So AI is hot right now.
So does it give you X-ray vision?
It doesn't give me X-ray vision, but it brings me one step closer to Ultron.
So do you like Cyclops too and shoot lasers with your AI camera?
Not yet.
Only with my penis.
Laser penis.
I got a laser penis now.
Oh gosh, there's like a show that has that. What is
a laser penis?
Yeah, like something like that. I have to look it up, but I know that something like that exists.
It might be Japanese. You know, they're
probably
is. Cockfighter? You're talking about Cockfighter?
No. There's like a show or something where like they have like a cannon, but it's so like poorly placed where it looks like it. You know what I mean? And so it kind of become a joke. I have to look into it and see.
What are the gay duo from the SNL? Ambiguous gay duo?
Yeah. No, I was thinking more of that guy from Dusk Till Dawn who has a 6-shooter.
Oh yeah.
On his codpiece.
Yes.
Yeah, but then with lasers now.
Yeah, exactly. Just a little bit more advanced than that.
Yeah. So are you gonna write that into your story as well? Like my AI robot has a fucking laser.
Absolutely not. I'm cutting it off there. Not in my story anyway.
Family friendly show, guys.
It was. We threw that out the door real fast, huh? Yeah. We didn't even get what is it? 20 minutes in, and it's already going to the.
Hey, we started out with a joke about Jesus.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, you know we have a Jew on the show.
It's a wrap.
Yeah,
lock it down.
So Glitch is the name. No, Glitch is not the name of the android. The android's name is what? I forgot now.
Yeah, the android's name is TY3754 or
Ty.
just Ty. Yeah.
Ty.
Yeah,
Ty.
The story is called Glitch just because that was the character's name originally, and I just always liked the title, and it, is this theme of it, in the story that people see when they read it. So check it out. But yeah, his name is Ty.
What hijinks does Ty get into? Does he get into any hijinks, or is it not that kind of comic book?
It's definitely more serious in nature. A lot of it, like when you see a lot of AI android movies, you tend to see the story unfold from the human perspective, like the horror that the human feels when they see these things come to life. This book more so takes it from the android's point of view. And so you kind of see how he is witnessing things around him and interpreting things through his own lens. And so you see his train of thought, and you'll see things where he comes to conclusions where you're like, well, that's not quite right. But you can kind of see how he got to that conclusion. So it's, again, definitely a lot more philosophical, and he is what's called a thank you unit, which is why he's called Ty, Ty. So very much like a live-in assistant android that does like house cleaning and stuff like that. Very much a rich person product in the universe of the story. And so he has
an earlier version of Data from Star Trek then.
Yeah, very much like that. Yeah, for sure. You can definitely compare it to that. And, it makes it to where, in the story, it talks about how he was manufactured without what's called an AI inhibitor chip. And so instead of just simply following his programming and his prerogatives that are set by, his owners and the company that made him, he's kind of led to come to his own conclusions and to develop his own moral code, his own purpose. And, basically it's the question of what would you do if you were thrown into a foreign society without any knowledge of what's going on around you? Would you interpret things the right way? Would you misconstrue some things? Would you get into some serious trouble because of your misunderstandings? And that's a lot of things that this book explores through Ty.
So does he fight back with his owner?
There's a little bit there's conflict for sure, but not in the first little bit of the story. It's a lot of his development into maybe violence or pushback is slow building. You see his mentality start to lean that direction, but it's not immediate. It's definitely more of like a buildup over time as he learns about humans, as he kind of, develops a weird opinion about them. And I guess not weird, but like he kind of becomes self-important, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Like, you gotta let the story and the world build before you get down to the conflict, man. You just it's like you gotta
I
warm up.
want
They
death
open the
right off
box and he
bat.
punches the guy in the face.
Exactly. That's what
You
I
gotta
want.
warm up the oven before you stick the turkey in.
I want Ultron. I want bad guy right off the box.
Well, hey,
And
I mean,
you only have one book, maybe one comic book selling. That's the story. Like, we want this is going to be a three book
3
series
issues.
in
Yep.
the arc. So it's
So
got
there's
to
time.
spread.
There's time.
Yeah.
I want to put my 2 cents into it already. You know what I'm saying? I want
Got
to
the
be a
editor's
violent desperado. You know?
Yeah, 10-second man over here. Okay, I'm done with my book.
No
Well,
explosions.
that's why I read comic books. I don't read acronyms. You know?
No, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, but no, it's definitely more of the slower type of story that near the end of it, you'll see, a lot of themes kind of come to fruition, and a lot more things start to happen one after another very quickly. And like I said, it's a self-contained story, but it will end with a third issue to where there's things that can continue from there that can continue to build and build and build.
Are the other robots or other androids in this book, or is it just Ty?
So the reason why we only see Ty mostly in the book is because it's a very odd situation for the android. And I have this in the bio of the Kickstarter, but I'll tell it to people for your audience, is that this specific android is given away in a sort of lottery event where you have this big tech company called Rivon Tech. They're basically the Apple of this universe. And they are the leaders in technology, robotics, pretty much anything technological. They are the monopoly of that. Phones, everything like that. And they have these TY units that, for a time, they're only selling to the top 1%, because the top 1% of the people that can actually afford it. It's a luxury item. And so the CEO and founder of the company basically has this idea of, hey, what if we need to try to make more money from this? Like, they're pretty expensive to make, but we need to make sure we capitalize on this. And so his idea is to try to get these androids to people in the middle to lower classes. And his way of doing that is sort of making the androids a necessity. So, like, for instance, none of us can truly afford a college tuition or a car outright or a house outright. So what do? We take out a loan for it, right? We take out a loan and pay it off so that we can own it, but we can't really afford to pay for it up front, right? And so the company's trying to make these TY units along that same line of necessity. And so his way of doing that is having this lottery to where a lower class citizen can win an android. People around them can see how useful they are, how amazing they are, and think, hey, I need one of those. I don't care how much it costs. I'll take out a loan for it, and I need it in my house to help me. And so that's how he ends up in this low-income family situation where he's not surrounded by other androids. That's another thing that kind of leads into how he develops as a character. He doesn't have his own kind around him. He's constantly surrounded by the other, I guess, is how you'd label it.
Interesting.
I can see where this is going then, because it creates a whole different subset of rules for this robot versus the robots are at the 1%'s home, where it's definitely just a what you call slave labor. So they wouldn't build up a certain personality or certain kind of antagonistic features where they have to fight or figure out their own.
Especially when they all have the chip that inhibits their ability to develop mentally, right? Mm-hmm. And so this one combined with being in a low-income household and not having that chip, it's the perfect storm for potential chaos.
Can you see this happening and when life imitates art, where Elon will sell his AI robots and does that same lottery?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because, I'm not a necessarily business savvy guy. I took one business course in college, so I would not say that I know the ins and outs of how businesses do things. But when I was, developing this idea of how the android gets to the human home in the first place into this specific situation, it was like, yeah, this kind of makes a lot of sense because there is a lot of business mentality to it where you're trying to break into a certain category of, I guess, customers, right? You have to find a way to make them see the need for your product. And so how do you do that? Again, you give them exposure to it. Or at least that's one frame of thought. And so I can definitely see maybe one day, Tesla or some other tech company that comes out of nowhere, who knows, developing these androids and saying, hey, you could win one of these, see how you like it. And when that day happens, when I'm like, I don't know, 50 or 60, I was like, no, I wrote about this. I'm not doing it. I ain't having it.
I wrote about this when I was 12. I wrote about this when I was 12.
Well, I hope the next art that you're thinking of involves a female version of this robot, and then
I know where this is
you
going.
know where it's gonna go.
I know where this is going.
I mean,
it's just not just a maid or butler. It is a partner.
I mean, if androids are made to help out with households, it only makes sense that one of the oldest professions would seep into the android community. I could see it.
Yeah,
like, see it.
It's like that same episode of Rick and Morty where they went to that I guess planet where they had
you're right.
females in order to breed with certain
Yep.
males, and then the females would be just like Amazonians and rule over these brainless males. They procreate by giving them these robot mates.
Yeah, no, it makes sense to me.
I think we just made the second arc, dude.
Yeah. Or at least a part of it for sure.
We cut your brother out already. We did that.
It's like writing credits goes to C-list villains.
Yeah, I'll take 0.0001%.
I'll take even less
Done.
than that. I just want my name on the book.
Oh man. Well, if it gets to that point and I do that, I mean, we'll be in touch.
I'm gonna hold you to that. We got this tape now, so I can use this in the court.
Ah, crap.
It lives in the internet, guy.
I like that idea.
Good. Let me ask you a question. You said you had some art to show. Let's see some of that beautiful art of yours.
Yes. So for those out there who obviously don't know who I am, a lot of what I do outside of creating comics is making a lot of original art for customers, whether it be commission work or just making artwork for my Whatnot or eBay store. But real quick, I'll show off something that's actually a published work of mine through an actual publisher. I have my variant for Ninja Turtles #6 through IDW that came out last year.
Nice.
This is a store exclusive that I did through 98 Comics in North Carolina, I think is where they're located. But people can tell it's a homage to New 52 Batman issue #1 with Raph fighting off, of course, the Foot. You got Beaver and Rotsteady there, and you got, of course, Shredder right here down below. And yeah, this is the first thing I ever got fully published through a publisher, which is very, very exciting. So I just wanted to show that off because I like to brag about it.
Oh, no, brag.
No, brag. That's something to be proud of.
A signed copy one of these days.
Yeah, I'd like one.
Absolutely. I think I got like 10 trades and 10 virgins left. I'll have to check with the store and see if they have any others too. But a lot of what I also do is a lot of blank cover variants. Again, either for commissions or I just have my eBay store. Recently, Invincible blank variants are selling like hotcakes because Invincible is freaking awesome. But I'll show off some other stuff. Got this blank that I did of Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion #1. Of course, that was done with pencil, ink, and Ohuhu and Copic markers.
Sweet.
And of course, the spider symbol back there with Sharpie. But this is just an example of that. And then this is a fun one I did recently. There's a Teen Titans Brave and the Bold. So this is like an old throwback blank that I did like some modern versions of the Titans on.
Nice. That's really nice.
Of course, you got the main guys, Raven, Cyborg, Robin, Beast Boy, and oh gosh, I'm blanking on him right now.
Starfire.
Thank you. It was on the tip of my tongue. Yes. I got this one again, drawn with pencil, pen, and marker. And then a recent Superman one, which are always fun. Got this right here. Same thing. Hand drawn, all that good stuff. From All In. This is the Summer of Superman issue #25 blank variant. And again, all these are on my eBay store. People can check that out through my Instagram, links and all that stuff. This, of course, came out last week. Had to do it. Of course, good old Superman.
Yeah,
Spider-Man
I got that. I got that comic book.
Oh, yeah. It's huge, super thick, really awesome. But of course, had to do the Daily Plan in the background. Good old Spider-Man, Superman hovering there. And I'll show off an Invincible since, that's a hot topic right now. Got a Adam Eve blank variant that I did, which is fun. Get surrounding the logo with her energy, right? Her power. So that looked really cool. Love those. I had a lot more, but again, they've been selling like crazy. So I have a hard time keeping hold of them before I have to ship them out.
Shit, you're like a porn star in church, right? Everybody.
You know what? I'll take that. take that. But one more little thing I'll show off. I also do like 11 by 17 pieces, the bigger stuff.
Red likes the bigger stuff.
Hey. Fair enough. But this was right after I watched X-Men 97. Of course, did the Cyclops.
Nice.
Got that there. And then this next one, every time I do this concept, my wife doesn't get why I like it so much, but I think it's freaking sick. I don't know if you guys can be able to tell what I did here. But of course, you got Punisher and you can see there Terminator mixed in there too. So you got a bunch of the Terminator stuff down here.
Right.
Oh, okay. So nice.
I just love this concept. It just makes so much sense to me. You know, like if a Terminator was going to impersonate anybody in the Marvel universe,
it would be Punisher.
Right? It just makes sense. So there's that. And then some with just pencils. This is, if any God of War fans are out there, good old classic Greek Kratos with the Blades of Chaos on a little pillar here. Let's see. I'll show one more.
How's that commission list going? Is it still open or are you kind of closed for now?
Oh, it's always open. Very much always open. And I'll show off one more to appeal to... Actually, no, I'll show off two more. There's two more that I want to show off.
Please show all you got.
Yeah. So for any anime fans out there, I try to delve into that a little bit. There's a Full Metal Alchemist piece.
Nice.
With the Elric brothers. Huge fan of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and the manga. So I had to do one of these. I want to update this one day.
I did a King Bradley cosplay about 5 years ago. Homuncula. Yeah.
That is nice. It's such a good manga and show. It's so dang good.
Well, what's your current favorite right now, or what are you currently watching?
As far as anime, I need to get back into watching anime. I finally had watched through Attack on Titan a couple years ago, but I've dipped my foot in a couple different things. I really want to start watching Ghost Stories on Amazon Prime, just because the English dub is hilarious. But yeah, Fullmetal Alchemist is probably one of my favorites, and then another one that I think was on Amazon. It's called Dororo. It was a 3-season show. It was one of those that kind of lost funding near the end, and you can kind of tell, but it's a really cool concept, and I really wanted to read the manga. But then you got back into comics, got this fun idea. Of course, after I saw Deadpool and Wolverine, I had to. Got that one, and then let's see. Make sure I pick up. All the classic comic fans will appreciate this. Once I saw the trailer for Fantastic Four First Steps, I wanted to do this homage to this classic Avengers cover. So instead of Vision, you have Doctor Doom and you have the Fantastic Four down there doing their thing. And then I inked this digitally, and then I got it colored and prints and stuff. But yeah, got that. And then I'll do, let's see. Where's the other one at? One more Invincible one for the Invincible fans out there. Fun piece of Mark Grayson. And in the lens, you can see Conquest flying towards him. Yeah. So I got that one digitally inked as well and colored. And
you kind of caught the Glenn Rhee, the I forgot the actor's name. The play was on the Walking Dead.
Oh, Glenn Yuen?
Yeah. Stephen Yeun.
Oh, Stephen Yeun. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
So you got that kind of I guess, sort of what he looked like at the end of I guess, close to the end of his time at the show. Like, it's kind of
we don't talk about that. We don't talk about his end of the show.
Everybody dropped off not everybody, but a lot of people dropped off.
A lot of people did. I was one of them.
I stayed on. I'm still watching Walking Dead.
And that's fair. I'm not telling people to not watch it, but I just couldn't take it anymore. Because I remember like 2 episodes before they had teased him dying underneath some like garbage can. Then he lived. I was like, oh, thank goodness. And then only to have it, I was like, I'm sorry. This keeps emotionally crushing my soul.
I think true comic book fans would have been really disappointed if that part of the actual tale from the comics didn't come to fruition.
You're absolutely correct. Like, I absolutely agree that they like stuck to the comic. I really appreciate that. It's just as far as like me being emotionally attached to characters, that kind of killed me inside a little bit. I was like,
it was the heart of the show right there, and definitely like
for a bit, yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Damn.
But yeah, as far as all that stuff is concerned, for those out there who like that stuff, it's a lot of it's on eBay, on my show, on my store, and of course, like I said to you, like I take commissions all the time. In fact, I got a commission we're working on Monday where it's Anissa versus Adam Eve on one of those invincible blanks. So I got that going on. But yeah, always doing commissions. That's like the majority of what I do for a lot of my work.
So all your here, you can find DJ here at DJ Wiedrich. At
Wiedrich.
Wiedrich at DJ.
It's a hard one.
32A Art, DJW32 Art, Instagram. And let's take a look at what you got here in your.
Yeah, that black and white one up there is right there. Yeah, that one is a look at the second issue of Glitch. So I'm already working on the second issue. I'm 9 pages into the inking, and the second issue is a shorter one. It's 23 pages compared to the 34 of the first issue. Just because a lot of world building going on. But yeah, very much heavily working on that. And my goal is to, when Dan Kemp has finished coloring the first issue, that I have most of, if not all of my stuff for the second issue done. That way people don't have to wait nearly as long for the next Kickstarter to go on and then to get their hands on the second issue, because I know by firsthand experience how frustrating it can be to invest in a comic only to wait forever to hear anything about follow-ups for it. So I definitely don't want to do that to people out there.
Oh yeah. You want to make sure that you're already, I guess, 2/3 of the way in order to get the story to
yeah, and make sure that I'm just on top of it, you know.
Yeah. So what's the story with him wearing this kind of a disguise to, I guess, to walk around society and not to be recognized as a hired help?
So what's cool about that is that when I first drew Glitch back when I was 12, we had this idea of the android, again, like having this sort of projection technology where he can put on a human face, but he wore a baseball cap, a jacket, and jeans to sort of blend in a little bit. And so that's just a design element that I've had for years. And so the second issue, he takes some time to kind of walk around the city after he has a confrontation with the mother of the family, and he's trying to think things through, organize his thoughts. And so I was like, you know what? Let's pull from, you know, memory lane and put him in that hat and jacket and make it to where, like, people in the city, like, stereotypically speaking, obviously it's not fully accurate, but stereotypically speaking, people tend to kind of keep themselves and just kind of walk past each other, depending on which city. There's some cities where people are more, you know, approachable, others where you just don't make eye contact at all. And so I was kind of leaning towards that direction. So where he's just, again, walking around with that disguise. It's a lot more self-serving than making sense, you know. It's just me like, hey, I had this character in a hat and a jacket for a long time. I want to draw him in a hat and a jacket for this part of the story.
Well, coincidentally, you drew Raphael for that variant, right? And Raphael in the movies, in the first movie, he did dress up in the trench coat and a hat in order to walk around the city at night. So I guess that there's a little bit of a parallel between TY there and Raphael with, you know, with, I guess, disguise.
And there's that sort of that suspension of disbelief, you know, like, okay, well, he's in human clothes, it's passable, you know, whatever, you know.
Yeah, I like
Ben Grimm did the same thing.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah. Sorry, Grandpa.
Ben Grimm did it first.
He did. He did. Let me ask you a question. You drew Glitch at 12. When did you start drawing? When did you know you could do this?
So I didn't draw this when I was 12. I came up with the concept when I was 12.
Okay.
I started working on the art over the past couple of years, finalizing things. But I've been drawing since I can remember. I've always been interested in drawing. I've always been doodling. I was always the kid in the back of class who was, you know, doodling in his notebook when he should have been taking notes. I probably could have gotten better grades if it weren't for that, but always loved it. But it wasn't until I got into my undergrad where I really was like, this is what I need to pursue, you know, career-wise, you know, because my entire childhood, my parents always, like, you know, supported the passion, supported the hobby, you know, got me art sets and sketch pads and everything. But there was always, of course, the advice of, well, artists don't make any money, so you might want to find a different career that brings in money, you know.
Right.
And so I internalized that for a long time. And, you know, there was sound advice to that, and they were coming from a good place, you know, give me that advice. But when I got into college and I was looking at different, you know, majors and I took different classes, it was this weird thing where I'm not a dumb guy, so I can ingest some, like, knowledge of different topics. But each class that I took that was outside of art, for some reason, just wasn't working for me. I don't know what it was, but I just felt like I needed to be in an art class. And so the university I went to, you had to take at least one art related course for your bachelor's. And so the day that I walked into an art class for the first time, drawing 101, it was kind of like the feeling of coming home. It's like, you need to be here. You need to study this. This is your path. And so I've just been kind of pursuing it ever since then. And like I mentioned before, I've always loved comic characters. You know, I grew up with the Sam Raimi trilogy. I grew up with the X-Men movies. Of course, watching the older movies like Superman 78 and Batman 89. And a lot of the stuff, you know, that came before my time. So I was always interested in that. But again, it wasn't until I was older that I was able to buy my own comics, build up my own collection, and really study the art style of some of now my favorite artists, you know, Greg Puyo, David Finch, Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, Gary Frank. Just trying to make sure I don't leave anybody out. Todd McFarlane, obviously, and Frank Miller, you know, can't leave him out. And just studying their technique and really, for the first time, delving into serious study of drawing, because there's a huge difference between constantly doodling and intentionally studying.
Right.
They both can be productive, but one is more productive than the other. Especially when you're really delving into studying drawing anatomy, which when you're getting into comics and drawing comics, that's 90% of what you're doing most of the time, is drawing exaggerated anatomy, musculature, poses, how the body can contort and move and be in space, you know? And so studying that, and I have so many different anatomy and drawing tutorial books and study material that I've been working through. And so one thing that a buddy of mine always tells me is that he calls me kind of a robot, which is kind of fitting because I'm always studying. I'm always working to improve what I need to do. I'm always trying to find, like when I'm reading a comic, my wife can attest to this. I'll be reading a comic in bed. She'll see me pull up my phone multiple times, take a picture of a panel because I want to study how that panel works. You know, how, you know, a certain pose can be drawn. How can I get to the point where I can draw something that is as impressive as that? And so that's kind of my own personal superpower, if you will, is that I'm a bit OCD and always studying. So it definitely is helpful.
Frank Choi says feet and hands are something comic book artists don't do well. Do you do feet and hands well?
I like to think that I'm doing hands better than I used to. I think that's the goal as a comic artist, do hands and feet better than you did before or better than you did yesterday. And so
if you do hands and feet better than Rob Liefeld, then you're already one step ahead.
Rob Liefeld doesn't do feet or hands.
No, in fact, it's funny. There was a video from Todd McFarlane, it was a couple years ago, where he said there's a rule in comic drawing: when in doubt, block it out, right? And so you definitely do have to apply that. If you're not confident in something and you can block it out and make it look more interesting that way, do it. But I have an entire book just about drawing hands that I'm actually going to start working on the next couple days, because I've gone through different anatomy books and studying, like, again, David Finch has a lot of tutorials that I've studied throughout the years. And so as far as hands, I feel like I do pretty okay. I'm not the best at it, but I do pretty good for where I'm at. Feet are actually kind of simple if you're just drawing from a distance. But like once you get close up, obviously you have to get the intricate details. But I do well enough. I'll say that. I'm not going to brag about myself. I do well enough with hands and feet to where I'm not so scared of it.
That's why he needs to see a really detailed foot on the comic book.
Yeah. That's what you're the question
I got
now.
an OnlyFans page you can go to called
not OnlyFans, it's only feet.
Only feet. Oh gosh, keep the initials. Just change.
Well, I see that TY 3754. Is that kind of like an homage to like THX 1138?
Actually, it's not. It's actually more of a reference to some family members of mine. The number specifically. 37 was I have 5 uncles, and one of them was number 37 in high school football. And 54 was my grandpa's football number when he played in college. And that grandpa passed away last year, so I wanted to keep that in the name of the android, and you know, pay tribute to him a little bit. So whenever I like think of numbers for something, I always pull from football players. Always. It's kind of another weird OCD thing that I have. In fact, when I'm walking across the street where there's a stoplight and it's counting down, in my mind, I'm usually like, with each number, I'm like, okay, that number is this player. That number is this player. And so that's my thing with numbers. So if I need a number for like an android or a story, I just pull a number from football players that I like.
Did you, in your younger years, did you read the book Super Pro?
That sounds familiar.
It's like Marvel's attempt at having a athletic superhero, and then he was like a.
Oh, okay. I did hear about it, but I never read it. But I did hear about it.
Yeah, me neither. It's horrible.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll stay away then. I'll take your advice.
I think it was only one issue.
Well, it
Oh
was,
boy.
but definitely, yeah. It's if you're looking for some kind of sports related and comic book related, yes, Supergirl would have been the only one.
And see, I have another story that. Well, here's the thing. I have another story that I want to do eventually that does have football elements in it, but it's not like the focal point of the story. And I actually did my own like preliminary versions of the book a couple years back. None that I show to people anymore because I've developed a lot more as an artist since then, and I'm frankly a little embarrassed that I put out some of that stuff, so I've kind of pulled it back a little bit. But I definitely have something in the works that I hope to do over the next 6 to 8 years with that concept. So for people out there,
are you a Dallas Cowboy fan?
I'm not. I'm sorry.
Good. You just moved up the level here.
Now, let's see if I get knocked down a couple notches with my answer of who I am a fan of.
Okay, who you are a fan of.
I'm a Broncos fan.
That's okay. That's okay. I can live with it. As long as you're not a Niner fan, you're okay in my book.
Fair enough. I have some buddies who are Niners fans, but I have not converted to that, nor will I ever.
Please don't.
Even though I'm a Steve Young fan. I like him. But
only good thing about him is he's left-handed.
Well, he won a Super Bowl for them,
Mike, you never won a Super Bowl, Michael.
Well, yeah, but I don't think he won one.
How about college championship behind Troy Aikman?
I didn't win that either.
I mean, to be fair, he was still there, so he's closer than any of us will ever be.
Yeah, thanks for sticking up for me. Red always picks on me all the time. Hey, you play with Doug Flutie. You're fine.
That's so awesome.
I don't know if Canadian Football League counts, though.
Hey, there's some good players that came out of Canadian football.
Yeah, me.
Hey, there you go.
Here you are on the comic book podcast.
Hey, doing what he loves.
Right? Doing what I love. Exactly. I like this guy. This guy's going to be on the show more often.
Oh, man.
But, so what's harder? Is it writing the story or actually doing the art for this book?
For me, writing, because like I mentioned before, I'm not a trained writer. And so it was definitely like a learning as I go type of experience, which I've gotten to the point with drawing to where I'm pretty confident in composing a page and, piecing together visual elements for a story. But as far as like putting the words to it, that was definitely the most frustrating part of the experience. That's why I reached out to a couple different people like, hey, could you look at this passage, see if it makes sense, see if it gets the idea across that I'm trying to. Because my wife tells me a lot that I speak oddly, which is not something you really want to hear from your wife most of the time. But she says that I convey ideas sometimes in a weird way with words that people don't use. And so I'm aware of that. And so I'm like, okay, well, I've got to make sure that I have other people's eyes on this and help me figure out if I'm getting across the idea that I'm attempting to.
Old English words like
no, like
calligraphy.
No, it's like, how do I explain it? I guess it's one of those things where you have to be there.
No, it's just a 10-cent word that no one, or not no one, but rarely use in the lexicon of English, right?
Yeah, like she makes fun of me for the fact that I've used the word fallacious more than one time in my life. And so it's
that's a good 10-cent word right there.
Fallacious. I mean, right? That's what I tell her. But anyway, that was the hard part for me. Yeah.
Red likes the word tepid.
No, I'm more flaccid, really.
Oh no. Oh,
yes, we went there. Okay.
So DJ, Marvel or DC?
Ooh, man.
Don't give him the third option at least, man.
Okay.
No. Hold on. Between
Dark
the two
Horse.
bigs, I do have to pick. I do have to pick between the two big ones. As far as stories, I have to go with DC. I think DC has consistently better stories. As far as characters, it's really hard because I love Spider-Man, I love Daredevil, I love Wolverine, but DC has Batman and Superman, and so it's kind of hard. Man, character-wise, I'll have to go with tie, but I guess the edge goes to DC because I just feel like they have more consistently good stories.
All right, let me follow up on that one. Like, who's the favorite superhero that you kind of grew up with?
Either Spider-Man and Batman. I mean, because they had a lot of the bigger movies that were coming out when I was growing up. Again, with Sam Raimi and the Amazing Spider-Man movies and the Christian Bale trilogy. They definitely piqued my interest as I was growing up and in my high school years.
So you watched the movies before you went to the comic book?
Some, yes. The first comic I ever read, I was like 8 years old. It was a Superman Batman book from Jeff Loeb and Michael Turner. It was like the Supergirl story with Darkseid, if you remember that one. But I read some comics before the movies. But yeah, after I watched the movies, I got more interested in the comic side of things. And so now it's kind of the point where I read more comics than I watch movies. So it's kind of flipped from, I think, what a lot of people did, where they read a lot of comics, now watch the movies. I watch a lot of movies, now read a lot of comics.
Yeah, I'm just the opposite. I'm old. I read the comics first, and the movies just don't add up to me because the MCU changed all the mythology, and I don't like the mythology that they came up with.
You're such a curmudgeon about this stuff, man. Your first comic books were on stone, okay?
Hey, there was so much 7-Eleven when I was a kid.
Man, what I would give to have that, to have like comics be in just the gas stations. Like they had some for like the Superman movie, they had some stalls, like some gas stations where they had some comics. But to have just a regular rack there all the time would be so cool. But then again, I love comic shops. So,
all right. So, do you prefer the manga or the anime?
Ooh, that depends on the manga or anime, right? That really depends. I'm very much art focused. So usually I will go towards the manga because again, I'm a pencil and inker. And so I'm a sucker for black and white art, and manga, of course, very much fills that bill for me. But man, I would probably have to say manga, but I've watched more anime than I've read manga, if that makes sense.
Okay, so where you did mention that you finished up Attack on Titan. If you have read the full manga and watched the full anime, like what do you like about what's in the manga versus what's in the actual show?
Well, I'm still trying to work my way through the manga because I have to buy the volumes first, because I don't like to read things online or on a tablet. I like to read the physical copies of it. I like the textile feel of it.
Me too.
Well, what does Sammy say? Books are better in your hand than it is on the screen.
Yes,
I very much agree with that.
They're like boobs. Like boobs are like the books are like boobs. Better in your hands than on a screen.
You know what? I second that notion. I agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's oh gosh, what was the oh yeah. So as far as like Attack on Titan anime, I guess I'll answer that. I love how the end of the show gives the beginning so much rewatch value. That's my biggest thing. Rewatch and reread value. If I can go back to a movie or a TV show or a book multiple times and get something new out of it or a new detail that I never noticed before that enhances the story, I'm going to love that thing even more. Like, obviously, I love like really fun, like straightforward, fun stories and stuff like that. But if something is a little more meat to its bones,
So you're an absolute Superman, absolute Batman guy right now.
I've liked a lot of those runs, absolutely, for sure. Especially Absolute Batman, just because it's kind of breaking the mold of a lot of things and kind of free to do its own thing. I keep telling people that a big reason why, not the only reason, but one of the big reasons why the Absolute runs are working so well for a lot of people is because, in a way, they're very much like independent books. Like they have familiar elements to them, familiar characters and ideas, but the writers and artists are really free to kind of do their own thing with them because they're given permission, whereas with the main continuity, there are a lot of things you have to stick to, a lot of canon things you have to adhere to, a lot of things that are existing outside of your story they have to be cautious of when you're exploring different stories. And so again, with the Absolute line, it's basically Batman and Superman if they were independent books. And so I just really like that element of it.
All right, and following up with the anime question, subs or dubs?
Ooh, dubbed. Wait, no, that's the wrong one. Subbed. I like subbed.
So you can read fast.
Yeah, I've gotten used to it because I never really watched anime until I met my wife like 7 years ago, 7.5 years ago now, and she's really into anime, and so I didn't really grow up with it. My dad is not a really big animated show type of guy. It doesn't matter what the quality of the show is. If I recommend an animated show to him, he'll see it's animated and be like, no, I'm good. And so we didn't really have that. And so when I started dating her and I watched these shows, I was like, oh, I really dig this. And at first I really liked dubbed because, again, you know, most English audiences, you know, they just like to hear it, right? But after a while, my wife was telling me, like, no, you got to hear the voice acting of the subtitled versions. You just got to hear the voice acting. And I agree. 9 times out of 10, it's better when it's subbed over dubbed. Although there's some exceptions, obviously, but subbed most of the time.
You got anything else, Mike? It doesn't feel like rapid fire questions to me, but I don't know.
Well, we kind of got going on something else, and we didn't get to rapid fire questions. So that's, you know, and now it's almost 8 o'clock. So we did an hour with just like that.
Let me recommend one for DJ. Go watch Don Da Don if you like kind of like that mystery ghost kind of stuff, and for anime.
Don Da Don is what you said?
Don Da Don.
Don Da Don. Okay, I'll definitely keep that in mind. Don Da Don. Where can you watch that at?
Crunchyroll, and I think Hulu has it right now.
Yeah.
Or if you,
I'll give you a little synopsis. The lead character gets his penis cut off by a witch, and he's trying to get his penis back.
and he has to fight ghosts and aliens in order to get it back.
That's actually the concept of Dororo. Very much like Dororo, this guy is the son of a Japanese warlord, and his dad sacrificed his son to a bunch of demons, and the demons each pick a piece of his body to take from him, and he's raised without arms or legs and no skin, so he has to like get a mask and prosthetic arms with blades, and he hunts down each individual demon to get a part of his body back.
Actually, yeah, that's pretty much similar, but this one is just his testicles and penis are gone.
Yeah.
And comedy ensues.
And comedy ensues.
Where can people find you, man?
Tell us where we can get you.
Yes, you can find me on Instagram. That you guys showed it earlier at DJW32Art. You can also find me on TikTok, DJWArt, and Facebook, DJ Wiedrich or DJWArt. You can also find me on X. I guess I don't really post a whole lot there. I guess I'm on Blue Sky. Don't really post much on there either, but I'm mostly active on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook just because I'm able to market different things there. But yeah, those are the main places.
And then the commission list is open.
Yes, commission list is open. My whole policy is just like reach out to me, DM me, and we'll work something out. So I'm pretty simple like that. So nothing too complicated. No email list. We just work it out person to person.
And then if you see the link right here to the Kickstarter, it's already fully funded. So just go get the extra stuff right now and back the project.
Yes, because I actually just paid Dan Kemp his pay for the colors this past week. So he's starting work on it. We're actually probably meeting, or not like meeting, but like talking this weekend, strategizing and everything. So the whole month of, it's March, April, I'll be posting a lot of updates on the colors for the book, how it's going. And I hope by April, May, hoping by mid, maybe to late May, to have physical copies in my hands of issue number 1 of Glitch, which will be an awesome day. And I'll be making videos of that for sure.
Well, then we'll have you back on the show when that comes out then.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Sweet. And then, you can find Mike somewhere.
Somewhere over the rainbow.
Okay, and then you can find me on OnlyFeed. I'll be posting.
Hey, that's my feed.
Yeah, I thought that was him. Did you take over his account?
No, we're sharing.
He's got hairy toes. I don't.
We're sharing the
that's probably a whole sub market.
We're not monetized on this channel, but we're monetized on OnlyFeed. That's how we fund this.
Oh gosh! Now it all makes sense.
Yeah.
See, you thought we were just wacky guys,
and. Thank you everybody for showing up and welcome. Thank you to our guest DJ here, and everybody. We'll see you next week, I guess, if the world is still around.
Yeah, hopefully the mango Mussolini doesn't kill us all.
All right, and DJ, stay a bit after I end the credits, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Absolutely. Good night, everybody.
Love, peace, and cosplay.
Thanks again for listening to another episode of the Sealess Villains podcast, your cultivators of the comic culture. Make sure you follow us on Facebook